Hello, I'm Mr. Peterson, and it is my great pleasure to introduce to you my band, the Petersons. We're a rock group, but we're also kind of a family. We live here in Essex-on-Hogatuck in upstate New York. It's a small town, leafy, kind of quiet. That's me, Mr. Peterson. I play guitar in the band. I also deliver the mail. My route kind of keeps me in touch with the community. It's a decent job, and it's also how I met my wife, Mrs. Peterson, our lead singer. She's kind of a sexual dynamo, my wife. Sometimes she feels the need to go outside our marriage to fulfill her sexual need. What can I say? She's a Gemini, creative and impulsive. She has a hard time settling down. Me, I'd love to have a child. But Mrs. Peterson, she really has no maternal instinct whatsoever. She says children are the death of the creative spirit. But we put our differences aside on the stage. We love performing together, and we started out as a folk duo. There's not a lot of opportunity in folk. So, we got off the folk festival circuit and we came back to Essex-on-Hogatuck, back to the sinister-looking Victorian Mrs. Peterson's father bought for her. We built a recording studio in the garage and we soundproofed the walls. But we were missing one very important thing: a band. Out of nowhere, my best friend from high school, Pete, showed up. I mean, literally, out of nowhere. No one had seen him in years. He rolled back into Essex-on-Hogatuck in his blue Coleman Spider trailer with just a drum kit and a half-ton of radio equipment. No one knows where he'd been. But he was ready to rock, just like he was back in high school, back when he and I started our very first band. All Pete asked for was a place on our property to park his trailer where he could live and broadcast his pirate radio program. We had our backbeat, but who would run the bass? The answer was Julio de los Flacos, who originally came to Essex-on-Hogatuck during apple season as a migrant fruit picker. He married Mrs. Peterson's sister Claudia, but she dumped him 4 months later, leaving him heartbroken and homeless. Mrs. Peterson took pity on him and invited him to stay in the room above the garage, just like the Fonz. And it wasn't long before they discovered Julio's natural musical ability, and he joined the band on bass. When he's not working a variety of menial jobs, he's an avid semi-professional wrestler with 0 wins and many, many defeats. He loves Super 8 filmmaking, oil painting, and traditional Mexican skeleton dancing, but he's superstitious. He has a profound fear of vampires. Our lead guitarist came to us in the form of a fallen angel, Father Tom, the priest that married Mrs. Peterson and myself. He also married Julio and Claudia, and he's been a great friend to all of us. But Tom was going through a spiritual crisis, questioning his dedication to the church, to a life of abstinence. He wondered about the earthly pleasures he'd been denied for so long, and he started acting out. He was accused of seducing a Catholic schoolgirl, a charge he denies, but he was asked to leave the rectory. He had no place to go, so we offered him sanctuary in our attic. And it's been a real rough time for Tom, but also a time of revelation. He stopped playing organ and he started playing electric guitar, and it turns out he's wicked. I asked him to join the band, and the quintet was complete.
So that's the band. You know, we're pretty big in our town, and we play every Monday night at the Beatbox, our local club. We never miss a show, not even when we're sick. Okay, we did miss one show, but that was because we were in jail. We did use the time constructively, however. Julio got to work on his oil painting. Father Tom explored his interest in gang subculture. It was a very solitary time for Mrs. Peterson, but Pete and I shared a cell, and we got very, very close. We're not just musicians. We're active in a variety of causes. We're artists, and we have a voice in America, and sometimes we like to raise it. I mean, what is going on in this country? That's why we also make movies. Day of the Vampires, our debut film, won our town's film festival 3 years running, taking home first place awards in Best Short Film, Best Foreign Film, and Best Documentary.
And because of this reputation for excellence in the arts, the band draws a pretty sophisticated crowd. John Cameron Mitchell stopped by and auditioned us for his upcoming sex film project. We didn't make the cut. Family members also show up on occasion, like the time Mrs. P's grandfather insisted on playing his drum. He may have been tone-deaf and rhythm-free, but he seemed to enjoy himself. Once, we called Michael C. Hall on a videophone. He was very polite, but I think he had a restraining order issued against us. Luckily, our lawyer Federico Dershowitz is always on hand to provide us with legal counsel. Popularity comes with its perks, and the band has its share of groupies. Vanessa here is one of the most dedicated, especially to Julio. And then there's Mrs. P's father, James Patrick Callahan. He's got a hair-trigger temper and a deep well of rage, but a lovely singing voice.
Love me tender, love me sweet.
He never liked me much.